This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City of Warrenville Public Works and Infrastructure Committee of the Whole regular meeting. It is Monday, August 10th, 2020. Okay. In accordance with social distancing requirements, Governor Pritzker's executive orders 2020-43 and 2020-44 and Section 7E of the Illinois Open Meetings Act, this meeting will be held virtually. Okay, we need a roll call, please.
Mayor Brummel.
Present.
Alderman Ashour.
Here.
Alderman Berry.
Here.
Alderman Bevere.
Here.
Alderman Davalos.
Here.
Alderman Goodman.
Here.
Alderman Kerschel.
Here.
Alderman Widener.
Here.
Alderman Wilson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Also, we need the staff to acknowledge that they're here.
I can do that.
Would you like to run through their names, please?
Sure. City Administrator Coakley. I see you, but you're muted. So I'll move on. Assistant City Administrator White.
Here.
Also muted, but here. Deputy Public Works Director Kukler.
Here.
Finance Director Dahlstrand.
Here.
Kristen Youngmeyer.
Here.
Sorry, I forgot your title. Clerk Larson. I know she's there. And I'm here as well.
Okay. Now I will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and please just say it along with me silently. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, now it's the time for citizens' comments. We will begin with any present at City Hall wishing to make a comment. Mr. Siebert is here, but he has graciously said that he will not make a comment this evening. And now we have email comments, which should be read aloud at this time, but there have been no email comments sent in. Once we conclude citizens' comments, there will not be another opportunity for the public to make a comment. Is there anyone else on the phone that would like to make a comment at this time? Okay, thank you. We'll get on to the officials and the staff comments. Mayor?
Just to show my dedication to the city and how much my wife loves me, tonight is our 52nd wedding anniversary. And instead of out celebrating, she's sitting by her computer and I'm at a meeting. Such is married life.
Well, congratulations. Okay, clerk? Okay. Treasurer? Oh, okay, treasurer's not here. Alderman Ashour?
Congratulations, Mayor.
Alderman Berry, me. Congratulations, Mayor. That's very nice, and it's very nice of Mary to allow you to be at the meeting this evening. See, 52 years, she understands you very well. Okay, Alderman Bevere.
congratulations to the mayor. And this weekend I went to the grand opening, Evelyn Wine Shop, and it was really fixed up nice inside. It was pretty amazing what they did. And good luck to them. That's all I have.
Alderman Davalos?
I have no comment, just to wish the mayor and Mary congratulations and 52 more.
Ooh. Okay, Alderman Goodman.
Congratulations to all, and just my general reiteration about the pandemic and hoping that we all remember the 3 W's: washing our hands, watching our distance, and wearing masks. Thank you.
Okay. Alderman Krischel?
Happy anniversary, Mayor. Congratulations. That's all I have. Thank you.
Alderman Widener?
Thank you. Happy anniversary, Mayor. I think it might work out. And that's all I have.
Very good. And Alderman Wilson?
My congratulations to Mary, especially, and to the mayor.
Okay, very good. Administrator? Is your microphone on?
I have nothing to add tonight, thank you.
Okay, there you go. Right. And the attorney is not here tonight, so he will. All right. The business of the meeting. Let's get to that. Number 1, a consideration of FY 2021 water and sewer rate increase. This is Finance Director Kevin Dahlstrom.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Before you tonight is a draft ordinance that would put a 10% rate increase in for both water and sewer rates. These increases were included in the 2021 budget. They would have gone into effect the beginning of May. However, we did delay this request due to the pandemic. The EMRP work group has begun their work on that project and felt this was a good time to recommend that these rate increases be presented for consideration. There will be a number of rate increases over the coming years, and the EMRP work group will be making a recommendation as to how we will proceed with those in future years. The recommendation before you would mean that a household of 4 people would see an increase over a year of approximately $93.48. Remember, they are only billed 6 times per year, and this way rate would be reflected beginning with the bills that we would bill in September. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? We will go through the list. First with Alderman Ashour.
Just with everything that's going on, would it be fair to consider cutting that in half, making it a 5% increase? I know it's not a lot of money, but a lot of folks are on tough times. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Finance Director, do you have a comment to make?
Why don't I wait until everybody gets through their comments? We'll comment them all at once if that works for you, Madam Chairman.
Okay, that's fine with me. Okay. I have no comment at the moment. I think that other than, than a 10% increase isn't as bad as probably it could be. I do know that a lot of people are suffering right now, but we also need to make sure that the public works and the water, they need to take care of themselves. They have to have that money in order to make that department work. So it has to be self-sustaining. So that's all I have to say. Alderman Bevere?
Yeah, just we should keep an eye on it with all the stuff that's going on. And reconsider maybe on the next one coming up to push it back later. Thank you.
Okay. Alderman Davalos?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a serious issue that we've talked about many times over the last several years, especially with the I&I and just the development. I think our rates are so relatively low compared to other places that I mean, I think if we postponed it, we'd have to make it be. I don't think we'd have to make that up. So at some point you have to pay more than the 10%. I think it's serious enough. I would like to see periodically a list of comparables, because that's quite a striking list when we've seen it in the past. We may not be the lowest, but I think we're close to the lowest, and we'll still be relatively low even with the 10% increase. And I think it's easier to understand that and to bear it, I think, for many people if they know that we are trying to be good stewards of this enterprise fund and good stewards of our city finances in general, and we don't, it's not a flippant thing, we need it. But I think if you see our rates compared to others, it's very striking. So I would just maybe, I don't know, maybe when we vote on it, or I don't want to have staff calling everybody again. It could just be the same sheet that we already saw at a preview. I think we saw it last year when we were talking about what we were going to have to do going forward. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Goodman?
Yeah, just to respond to Alderman Davalos's sort of question. My recollection was that we're not the lowest on sewer, but we are the lowest on water by quite a considerable amount. And I think that after this increase, we will still be the lowest on water by, I think it was perhaps even a factor of 2 or 3. It's really quite distinct. I remember Finance Director Dahlstrom telling us a story last year about getting a call from another municipality that we had a typo on our website, that the rates were just too low to be believed. And in fact, it was not a typo. Our rates actually were that low, and the other town just couldn't believe it. So we did discuss this at the EMRP. Nobody wants to raise water and sewer rates, but unfortunately it has to pay for its own bills. The rates that are paid by the users of the system have to pay for the bills, and the bills are a lot higher than we'd like them to be, increasing because of the I&I program. I'm not telling you anything you haven't heard before. Putting it off does mean that we're not going to have as much revenue in this fund as we had previously budgeted. It is possible we will have to make that up later with sooner or quicker increases. We'll assess that as we go along, of course. And the EMRP work group is actively managing that. We have another meeting session scheduled soon. I will say that I would be more hesitant and more concerned about the issues that Alderman Ashaw raised if it weren't for the action taken by this council last week to end water shutoffs. I think that helps me reconcile this more easily, because if we are raising rates, at least we know the people that are in the most distress will not have their water cut off during the pandemic, and staff will work with them, as they generally do, on payment plans and trying to find a way to deal with this. Because it's a difficult time for everybody right now, and I think the council acknowledges that. So this is something we need to do. That's something we want to do, and I'm in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Krischel?
I agree. I think we had a lengthy discussion around budget time this past year. Something that we need to do. Pushing it back, I think, is going to basically kick the can down the road, because as Kevin had mentioned, there's going to be additional increases in the future to bring it up to where it needs to be. I think that, again, agreeing with Alderman Goodman, the recent work that we did and suspending water shutoffs, and the fact that was it 97% of the delinquent bills had been paid as of last meeting. So I think that's a good sign as well, and we can reevaluate that going forward. But I agree to this percentage increase at this time.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Widener.
Thank you. I have nothing to add.
Okay, thank you. And Alderman Wilson.
The other thing is, no, I don't have anything else to add, but it is something that we have to do. We've looked at this thing, and perhaps we can send the comparable rates at the same time we send out a notification to all our users. Other than that, I think we need to do it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We would need a motion, please, by someone.
I think you were going to go back to Kevin.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for reminding me. Finance Director Dahlstrand.
I think what I need to add has been addressed, but I'll reiterate it anyway. There are going to be increases in our water and sewer rates over the coming years. We could certainly decrease these increases. However, I would not recommend doing that. It will just kick the can down the road. And while none of us wants to increase our water and sewer rates to our residents, it is something that will have to be done and will be done again in the very foreseeable future and for a number of years to come as we work through all this. We went a lot of years where we did not change any of our rates, did not increase our rates, and we're going to be playing a little bit of a catch-up game here as we go. So we do need to keep this ball moving and move ahead with these increases as they are presented here, unless the committee decides that they want to do anything less than this. But I would not recommend that at this point in time.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions or comments?
One brief question. Does the staff have an ordinance number on this for the motion? It's not in any of the backup materials.
It was presented right now as a draft ordinance. We did not have a number assigned to it yet at this point until we determined how the committee wanted to proceed. It'll be on when it's presented to the city council.
Okay,
So how
thank
do you
you.
want that in the motion?
I think we would just, go ahead. All right, I thought somebody was going to speak. Somebody help me with the verbiage here. I don't know the right way to state what we need to do because it's going to have to be an ordinance. I don't know the proposed number.
I don't think you need to put the number in. I think you can just say recommend the city council approve an ordinance.
There you go. Thank you.
Okay. Alderman Goodman, did you want to make that motion?
Sure. Alderman Goodman, I'll make a motion to recommend that the city council approve an ordinance authorizing a 10% water rate increase and a 10% sewer rate increase effective September 1st, 2020.
Second, by Alderman Wilson.
We have a motion by Alderman Goodman and a second by Alderman Wilson. Can we please have a roll call?
Alderman Berry,
Aye.
Alderman Widener,
Aye.
Alderman Krischel,
Aye.
Alderman Wilson,
Aye.
Alderman Ashour,
Aye.
Alderman Goodman,
Aye.
Alderman Bevere,
Aye.
Alderman Davalos.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, motion passes. Okay, on to number 2, consideration of access agreement with Thornton's. We would have Deputy Public Works Director Phil Kukler.
Thank you and good evening. Staff has been negotiating a purchase agreement with Thornton's and the property owner that owns the Thornton's property over the last several months. And we've reached a point in the negotiations where we think it's appropriate to proceed with some due diligence, which would involve some investigations on site. We have a contract with a geotechnical engineer to perform some soil borings. We've got a surveyor that needs to get on site. And so the agreement that is included with the agenda backup materials is an agreement that would allow the city staff and consultants to get on site to perform the due diligence investigations. The city attorney and Thornton's and the property owner's attorneys have all reviewed the document, so it's all acceptable to the attorneys. And so I guess at this point, I'd like to entertain any questions.
Okay, any comments or questions? Alderman Ashour?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. I have no questions or comments at this time either. Alderman Bevere?
None at this time.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Davalos?
No comments right now.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Goodman?
Yeah, this might be a discussion that's more for the city attorney, since you've said that she reviewed it and found it acceptable. I see a lot of problems, actually. The main one being on page 2, section 2, where it says that your inspections shall not include any invasive physical examination, including testing the soil or groundwater. So since you've said a couple times that you want to do soil borings, it doesn't actually give us permission to do that. It says we can get that permission through written approval from Thornton's or in the real estate contract, but those aren't attached and we don't have them yet. So this isn't actually an agreement to get the access that we need. That just seems to be missing.
Okay, yeah, I can, that's going to have to be revised because one of the main purposes of doing this is to get the soil borings. So I'll work with Brooke and make sure it's okay with Thornton's if that's in there. But they know, we've discussed this being for soil borings and for getting survey work done. We're not testing groundwater at this point, but the whole point is for us to get on site and do our due diligence, and Thornton's is aware of that. So I'll work with Brooke to revise that for the agreement going into the council agenda packet next week.
Okay, there's a couple of other things in the indemnification where we're indemnifying them for any damages found by the inspection, which I don't like either. And the whole section 1 on that same page seems to incorporate such terms the real estate contract will have in the future, which is a completely unenforceable term in a contract. This is basically not a legitimate thing to put, that you're agreeing to agree to another contract. Ask Brooke if agreement to agree is an issue. That's a phrase you might know. But I'm not expecting you to understand that. It's just not enforceable.
Okay, I'll discuss with Brooke and make any changes that are required.
Okay. Anything else, Alderman Goodman?
Nope, that was it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Krischel?
No questions or comments. Thank you.
All right. Alderman Widener?
No questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you. And Alderman Wilson?
No comments.
Okay, great. All right. I would ask for a motion from someone. Anyone? Make a motion?
Alderman Davalos, I would like to recommend City Council pass a resolution approving an access, indemnity, and release agreement with TZBP Warrenville LLC and Thornton's LLC, Illinois.
Second, Alderman Wilson.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Davalos and a second by Alderman Wilson. A roll call, please.
Alderman Krischel?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Bevere?
Aye.
Alderman Berry?
Aye.
Alderman Goodman?
Sorry, no, I can't support this draft.
Alderman Davalos?
Aye.
Alderman Widener?
Aye.
Alderman Ashour?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, on to number 3. Consideration of an agreement for sanitary manhole rehabilitation. Again, we have Deputy Public Works Director Kukler.
Thank you again. Continuing with our infiltration and inflow reduction program, we are moving on to phase 3 of the first basin this year, and then phase 3, the second basin next year. After the investigation we did in the first basin, and we're currently performing investigations in the second basin, we've got several manhole defects that need to be addressed, and it was the opinion of staff and our consulting engineer that we should combine those 2 basins to get a better price per manhole to be rehabilitated. So we've got approximately 30 manholes in the first basin, and we're estimating there's going to be approximately 30 manholes in the second basin as well to be addressed. So by combining them into a little bit larger contract that would be done next summer, we could get better pricing. So this contract that's included with the agenda backup materials is with Engineering Enterprises to assist the city with putting together bid documents, and then also assisting with construction inspection services next year during the summer. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions on the contract.
Thank you. Okay, now for questions and comments, Alderman Ashour.
No questions.
Okay, I have no questions at this time. Alderman Bevere. Okay, I think we lost Alderman Bevere when he gets back. Alderman Davalos.
No questions at this time.
Thank you. Alderman Goodman.
Just wondering, it said that they had a number of 28 for the first basin and that the inspections of the second basin were still in progress. So are we likely to see a change order on this if the numbers don't come in, or do we already have a pretty good sense that it'll be about 30 in the next basin too?
It doesn't. I don't anticipate there'll be a change order. I think preparing the bid documents. I mean, the number of manholes that need to be rehabilitated will be a quantity in the document. So adjusting that number isn't going to be anything significant in terms of the engineer's work. They're going to help us with the bid documents, and whatever the quantities are, they are in there. And if this was actually construction, then yeah, we would. There would be we'd need to have that number pretty exact at this point, or we could expect a change order. But we won't bid this until next late winter, early spring, kind of similar to what we do with the road program. So we can get good pricing early, anticipating the work in the summer. The contractor can get it on its get a project on their books early in the year, and give us hopefully really good pricing.
Oh, okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you. Alderman Kreshel.
No questions.
Okay, Alderman Widener.
No questions.
Okay, Alderman Wilson.
No questions.
Okay, and do we have Alderman Bevere back? No, I do not see him. Oh, wait a minute. Alderman Bevere? And no, he's not answering. Okay, we will need a motion regarding the, oh, I'm sorry, Alderman Bevere,
No.
did I hear you? No comments? Okay. We will need a motion for the manhole rehabilitation. Anyone?
Alderman Davalos.
Thank you.
I'd like
Go
to
ahead.
recommend City Council pass a resolution approving a professional services agreement with Engineering Enterprises, Inc. for the West 2 and 3 basins manhole rehabilitation in the amount of $54,382.
Second, Alderman Wilson.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Davalos and a second by Alderman Wilson. I would like a roll call, please.
Alderman Ashour,
Aye.
Alderman Goodman,
Aye.
Alderman Widener,
Aye.
Alderman Bevere, Alderman Bevere,
Aye.
thank you. Alderman Wilson,
Aye.
Aye.
Alderman Berry,
Aye.
Alderman Davalos,
Aye.
Alderman Chrisell.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, on to number 4. This is an update on the Mack Road Bridge condition. Deputy Public Works Director Kukler.
Thank you. You may recall from the community meeting in July that Senior Civil Engineer Hocking gave an update on our grant-funded projects. And one of the projects is Mack Road. We've got grant funding for the path and separate funding for the bridge as well. The city's most recent inspection for Mack Road by our structural engineering consultants was submitted to IDOT, and IDOT then, as a result of the condition of the bridge in that inspection report, dictated that the bridge weight limit had to be reduced to 4 tons, which city staff changed the signs out on, confirmed with IDOT that the signs are correct now. And we also notified the fire districts, the Forest Preserve District, Waste Management, and school district about the change, and also the Winfield Township about the change. So we figured that they're frequent users of the bridge and may have vehicles that would exceed 4 tons. And then the other condition from IDOT was that the city has to have the bridge inspected monthly now instead of yearly. IDOT gave our structural engineering consultant some conditions that if the bridge reaches or deteriorates further, reaches those conditions, city would have to close the bridge to traffic. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed for the next 18 months or so and hope that it doesn't deteriorate. But I did check with the engineering consultant to see if there was any sort of remediation that we could do that would be cost effective for the time being and might prolong or might allow us to keep the bridge open. And she had indicated that since the deterioration is in the beams which are underneath the bridge, you'd have to basically replace those beams that are deteriorating, which would be very difficult and costly to do for a very short-term project. I mean, we're looking at probably calendar year 2022 for construction of the bridge, and so to try to spend tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars to get a bridge to limp by for 18 months before we tear the whole thing down and replace it does not seem like a good idea. So staff is moving forward and trying to push preliminary engineering as fast as we can, and we're trying to get a jump on at least get a consultant on board for final engineering as well. The preliminary engineering is almost finished. The engineer has to do some work gathering some data for the intersection of 59 and Mack Road relative to the path project or path portion of the project. And that I anticipate that will be complete and submitted, at least the first draft of it, this fall. And Senior Civil Engineer Hocking advertised for requests for proposals for qualifications for engineering firms today. She sent that out. So we anticipate later this month receiving any submittals, evaluating those, negotiating a contract, and then also bringing back a recommendation, hopefully in September, for an engineering contract for final engineering. And then since that final engineering is paid for mostly by federal funds, IDOT also needs to review that after City Council approves it. And that process with IDOT can take a few months to get through. So we're hoping that by submitting the final engineering contract and the first submittal for the preliminary engineering project development report, that IDOT will give us feedback on the project report, and we'll be able to get the final report submitted later in the fall, and that the final engineering contract will be approved at about the same time the preliminary engineering design is approved. So then we would be able to transition from preliminary to final engineering pretty quickly. And that process for each engineering phase takes roughly a year. So I would anticipate that then during final engineering in the calendar year 2021 would be complete. We'd be going out to bid late in 2021 for construction, beginning in early 2022, and with the intent to keep the bridge project contained within one construction season like we did with Williams Road Bridge. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions on the bridge condition.
Thank you. Okay, any questions or comments? Alderman Eschauer.
No questions, thank you.
Okay, I do have a question. We had several residents in last week making comment regarding the path being on the north side of the street versus the south side of the street. I wonder if you could address that, why it is that it is on the north and not on the south.
So probably it's getting back 2 or 3 years ago now, we met with the Forest Preserve District at the beginning of probably around the time we applied for grant funding for the PATH project. And they are certainly a good partner with the city and other entities in terms of these types of projects. In talking with them, they made a compelling argument for that the PATH should be on the north side, not on the south side. Originally, Community Development Director Menser and I had envisioned the path kind of meandering through the Forest Preserve property on the south side, crossing the river, and then crossing Mac Road to connect to the path in McKee Marsh. Apparently, that area of the Forest Preserve is a high quality Forest Preserve, and the Forest Preserve staff did not think that would fly for one to disturb those trees or damage those trees. I think there are a lot of oaks over there. When you start driving construction equipment or trying to install paths around the roots of oak trees, they don't tolerate that very well. And then there's a high pressure gas main on the south side of the street that is something we probably want to avoid with construction. And finally, as far as safety goes, trying to have adding a mid-block crossing to a 40-mile-an-hour road for a path is not desirable. There's already one a little bit further east of Williams Road, and adding another one is not something that really anybody's in favor of if you can avoid it. So keeping the path on the north side of the road would allow you to from 59 all the way to McKee Marsh, stay on the same side of the road without crossing Mac Road. The path is going to be designed to meet the safety requirements in terms of separation from the roadway itself when you build it on a side path. This is something that was taken to, I think, Senior Civil Engineer Hocking presented this to BPAC, and I forget when it was exactly, but she presented it, and they discussed the three alternatives that were presented. They made a recommendation to council for this option to place a path on the north side of the road. So at this point, I still believe it's going to be that's the best spot for it from a safety perspective. It is going to be challenging. You've got 4 or 5 property owners that we're going to have to deal with to acquire easements or right of way or both. And then they have also improvements in those areas. And through the IDOT process, you do have to go and pay them. If they've got pillars or fences or things like that in the area you're trying to acquire, you do have to compensate them for those improvements as well. We had gone through that in the Williams Road Bridge project too. So
I find it very difficult to believe that the Forest Preserve would be so concerned about their property on that corner, since that is where the staging was when the river was rehabilitated, I guess. They did all the staging over there at that time. They had trucks going in and out of that property. They moved the trees, they cut down trees. They did all kinds of things over there on that road and in that property itself. And that's only been within the last 10 years. So I just don't understand why they would be so concerned that we would be putting a path there. They seem to not have a problem with everything that was done at that time. So I think we probably need to go back possibly and talk to them again versus disrupting the residents that live on the north side of the street. I guess I'm just a little concerned about that. Is there any way that we can talk to the Forest Preserve again?
I can confirm with them, but I still, even if they said yes, you're putting a mid-block crossing of where families and kids are going to be crossing a 40-mile-an-hour road with their bikes or walking. And while it has been done, if you have an ability to avoid that, I think that would be advisable to avoid for safety reasons, to have people crossing the road mid-block. So mid-block being not at an intersection, there's no traffic control to help them. There's, up at 59, you've got signals. I mean, but along Mac Road, there's really nothing. You can see that as you get east of Williams Road, there is a mid-block crossing as well with the flashing signs. But I would hope that everybody agree that it's not the most desirable thing in the world.
Okay, but it wouldn't be possible to be putting up one of those things like we do have on Batavia Road with the flashing signs? Because we also have people crossing the road over there on Mac Road to go from the south side to the north side on the east side of Williams Road. There's a crosswalk over there. So we don't seem to have any problems with that area.
Well, that area is outside the city, and it's also a Forest Preserve District path and crossing. But you're right. that does exist over there. We have one on Batavia Road. It's certainly possible, but not desirable. And I don't know. It's obviously people's private property, and it can have their own desires and what they want to do with their property. So we'll work through that. I can talk to the Forest Preserve District again, but we proceeded with this design, with our design. There would be some engineering costs to change the design at this point too.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Alderman Bevere?
Yeah, what happens if these residents don't give us the easement?
Then I think there'd have to be a decision made on how important it is to do the path. I mean, it's if
that's all I'm concerned about.
Yeah. It would come down to a decision with the city on how important it is to do the path on that side of the road. And I mean, if the Forest Preserve's not going to let us build it on the south side of the road, and the residents are reluctant on the north side of the road or resisting, then that it would come down to a decision on how important the path is to city council and making a decision: do you pursue condemnation or not, or do you just not do the project?
Okay. Any other comments, Alderman Bevere? Okay. Alderman Davalos?
Yeah, my only quick question was, I know there was a lot of funding, probably federal, state grants. I know we talked about it when this first project came up. Does changing the timetable impinge on any of the possibility of getting that funding, or will it proceed according to this new quicker schedule? Will it make a difference?
The bridge funding should be available, is typically available when the project is ready. I mean, it's kind of available at the pace where we move at for the bridge project. The path funding is right now scheduled for a year later than I would like to do the bridge project. I could work with the MMC to try to make a request, if assuming the bridge project is moving along, to try to bump up the path project funding. And if that would probably require another project that is ahead of us to slide back a year and kind of trade places with us. I would, again, assuming the bridge project is moving along fine and slated for 2022 construction, then I would also make that request to see if we could bump the path project up and do them as one. Worst case, we have to do them as two separate projects, because right now it'd be 2023 construction for the path. If we did that, I would plan on doing all the roadway work, anything that would kind of close down while the bridge is out. Any roadway work, any curb and gutter to be added, any resurfacing to be done with the bridge itself, and then the path work to be done the following year, with most of that work taking place behind the curb. I mean, there'd still probably be daily lane closures, but you wouldn't have long-term lane closures.
Okay, so we don't risk losing any potential funding by changing this. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Goodman?
Yeah, I'm very concerned about the deteriorating bridge. I think that obviously moving ahead with earlier construction for the bridge is very desirable if it's in poor shape, and having it closed for a long time before we would be able to reconstruct it is a worst case scenario that we should obviously try to avoid. The discussion about the path, I feel like most of the concerns that we've had in the past remain, regardless of the objections of a couple residents that live right on the path. I think having the path on the side of the road where the residents live also means that the people who live in those houses won't be making mid-block crossings to get to the path, which I live on the north side of Warrenville. I don't think most of the rest of you do. So I drive across this bridge quite often, heading down towards Target or other parts of Warrenville. And trust me, there's a lot of pedestrian and bicycle traffic along this path already. I think once an official path is built there, not only will that traffic be safer and off the road, but we'll see an even higher usage of this path. I think it's already quite heavily used, and so people have a desire to go this way. The connection between Fox Hollow and Summer Lakes and going across to McKee Marsh is already very popular, especially for bicyclists. So the question about how important is this path to us, I think the answer is probably pretty important. It certainly has been in all the discussions I've had with the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission and their concerns about connections, filling in some of the gaps that we have between common trails and paths in Warrenville, which is something that will increase public safety because the bicyclists and the pedestrians are already going to be there. And I've tried on foot that mid-road crossing that already exists from the north to the south side, and it does not feel safe. And I would not want to put in another one, and I would not want to do that crossing regularly myself as a pedestrian. It did not feel like a safe way to get across that road. Those are my comments.
Alderman Krischel?
No comments. Thank you.
Okay, Alderman Widener?
Just a couple things. The staging site that you were referring to in your comments was in a small fescue field adjacent to Route 59 on the southeast corner. The area in question that's ecologically significant in a Class 4 area is the Oak Savanna that is closer to the river. So you're talking about two different ecosystems, and the one that you mentioned certainly was a staging area, but the one the Forest Preserve is trying to protect is Class 4, their highest rated ecosystem, full of rare trees, plants, and animals. So it was for that reason that they thought moving across the other side was important, along with the fact that mid-street crossings are not desirable by anyone, especially along an arterial that is going to have a speed limit of 40 to 45 miles an hour or more. Anyone who's struck in the intersection or gets hit, pedestrian, is unlikely to survive an incident at that speed. So just because we have one mid-street crossing does not mean that we should challenge ourselves and put in another one. It would be extremely dangerous. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Wilson?
I have a question about putting the path on the south side instead of the north side. There's just going to have federal funding to do that. It's a separate project. Is that correct?
Yes, there's two different sources of federal funding. There's federal funding for the bridge project. There's federal funding for the path.
I don't know about what happens when you assess property or get property from individuals. Is that more costly? Will that cover the difference between somebody objecting to putting the path on the north side?
It's the land acquisition process. We have to have the land appraised, and there's different values as to whether it's a temporary easement, permanent easement, or actually acquiring right of way. And that you have to hire an appraiser to go through that process. And then there's also, as part of that appraisal process, if there are improvements by the property owner in that area, and we had to go through the St. Williams Road Bridge too, you have to determine or appraise the value of those improvements and compensate the property owner for the loss of those improvements too, which would then theoretically allow them to rebuild them elsewhere or move them or something.
Would that be funded by the federal? Would that added cost be funded by the federal funds?
For the bridge, because we'll need
No,
easement
for the path. I'm talking about the path.
No. I'm thinking out loud. For the bridge, it will fund that. I have to double check on the STP funding for the path. If it includes private or property acquisitions or not. I think that it does, but I'd have to verify that.
I'd appreciate that. Thanks, Phil.
You're welcome.
Okay. I'm sorry, Mayor, did you have a comment?
Yeah, a couple of things. There are a number of good reasons for the path to be on the north side of the road, and I think they've already been articulated very well. I would just add, I understand that the property owners on the north side like things the way they are. That's a perfectly natural reaction when change comes along. I would just offer that at some point, all of those folks along there are going to want to sell their property, and most likely it will be bought by a young family, and they would probably consider a path a safe way to get into the forest preserve in their front yard as an amenity. Because the opposite obviously would be if the path's on the other side of the road and they want their kids to go out on their bikes, they're going to have to cross a busy road. So I would just offer that maybe that's a perspective that might be a good idea to consider the future. The other thing is that every time Warrenville's involved in a project such as this, we always try to do it right. We certainly aren't in the interest of destroying the front yards of those folks. They have some very nice properties there. We would certainly work with them to make sure that whatever was happening along the road in their property would be something that they could be happy with long term. So I think this could be worked out in a positive way if we just change our perspective slightly. But from everything that I've seen, the most sense is to have that path along the north side of the road. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that was an information only. So we will move on to number 5. This is a discussion on the Rigi Road and the Barclay Avenue future maintenance and ownership. This is Deputy Public Works Director Kukler.
Thank you. Rigi Road and Barclay Avenue are both private, small dead-end private roads off of the north side of Ferry Road, west of 59. And as I'm saying this, it occurs to me I probably should have included an exhibit for anybody that may not know where they're at. About 20 years ago, the roads were resurfaced, and at that time there was a resident coordinating signatures to dedicate those roads to the city as public roads. And my understanding is we got late in the construction season, and due to weather concerns and that, the city, because there was progress being made on the dedication of the roadways, the city had our road contractor resurface the roads at that time. And after the roads resurfaced, that fell apart. The dedication of the roads fell apart, so they remain private roads to this day. And 20 years is, is getting to the point where they really should be resurfaced. There's potholes starting to form in a couple of locations. In fact, I just got a request last week to deal with the pothole that's forming, and trying to question basically whether they should be dealing with it or the city would be. The city does plow snow on those streets, so as the road deteriorates, we worry about either causing damage to the road or causing damage to our equipment if we were to keep plowing snow and the roads aren't maintained. With Point Oak Drive, although that road is in far worse condition than these two roads. And after discussing internally with staff, we found that it was appropriate, since there was a work group already with 2 aldermen assigned to it for Point Oak Drive, to have the scope of that work group expanded to include Rigi and Barclay, so we can try to treat them as consistently as possible with Point Oak Drive and how we've approached those residents. So I would, I would anticipate if council assigns 2 aldermen or expands that work group scope to include these 2 roads, that once that's approved, I would meet staff and the aldermen would meet to discuss the situation out there, and then we would arrange for a meeting individually with the owners of the properties on each street. So we'd have the Rigi Road property owners in one meeting, and then the Barclay Avenue property owners in another meeting, because theoretically they could decide to go 2 different ways. Maybe one street wants to stay private, one is interested in dedicating to the city. But we would explore all options. If there's a path forward to have those become city roads and we can treat them fairly and consistently with what we've been offering with Point Oak Drive, then that would seem to be a good solution. But if there is resistance that they do not want to dedicate, they want to own and maintain those roads themselves, then we would probably have to decide, are we going to keep snow plowing those roads, and if so, develop an agreement to do so and figure out what the terms of those agreements are. That agreement would be. So what I'm looking for tonight is a recommendation to City Council to expand the scope of the Point Oak Drive work group. Yeah. And with that, I'd answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Ashour.
I have no trouble with the expansion of the work group. I know that what might be helpful is a map that shows the people that haven't signed up and their contact information, and how many of them haven't signed up versus how many have. That that went forward with the dedication.
Yeah, and I'll have to take a look. I'll have to work with City Administrator Coakley on that. I'm not sure who had signed previously. One, if they still own the properties, and two, if that signature is valid or if their position has changed since then. But we're definitely going to need a map and have to understand who's in favor and who's not.
Can I interject?
Yep.
City Administrator Coakley.
Yes.
Sorry, our
Go ahead.
audio wasn't working. Thank you. The audio wasn't working on my computer, so I had to go in another room with the phone. Two quick things. If I understand correctly, we will recheck with the attorney. I don't think the signatures we got 20 years ago are still valid. We can recheck that, but I was under the understanding a new plat would be needed and new signatures. But we certainly will check that, and if someone on staff has verified that with our new attorney, then that's fine. The second issue, we don't have a formal work group. The council's never designated a work group. You have assigned the Ward 1 Alderman Ashour and Bevere to work with staff, which is what I would recommend. If you create a work group, then it's a public body. We will have to have hosted meetings and all, and this is more of just getting council input to work with staff as we work with the residents. I don't believe the intent is to have a formal body and formal meetings.
Was that your intent, Director Kukler?
No, if we need to reword it to have the city council assign 2 aldermen to work with staff, that's what I prefer. I don't want a formal body like we went through with the CMRP years ago.
Okay. Is there anything else, Administrator Coakley?
No, those are the 2 things I wanted to raise. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have no comment at this time. I'm in favor of definitely having a work group together to get all these people together to figure out the issues that they have. And then Alderman Bevere.
Yeah, I'm in favor of this. Thank you.
Okay. Alderman Davalos.
Yeah, I'm in favor of this. I'm just trying to figure out how you word it. We want to take the word work group out of it, correct? We don't want the word work group in there. That's what City Administrator Coakley said. Is that right? No?
Administrator Coakley?
Yes, sorry, I can't see anyone here. Yes, that is correct. You would simply take out work group and just designate, I'm assuming the same Alderman Ashour and Alderman Bevere to work with staff.
Okay.
Anything else, Alderman Davalos?
No, thank you. Thanks for answering that.
Okay. Alderman Goodman.
No comment other than I'm prepared to make the motion.
Okay. Alderman Krischel?
No comment.
Okay. Alderman Widener?
I have no comment.
Alderman Wilson?
No comments.
Okay. Mayor Brummel? Any comment?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. All right. Alderman Goodman, you wanted to make the motion?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend that the City Council assign Alderman Ashour and Alderman Bevere to work with staff to develop recommendations for Riggy Road and Barclay Avenue for City Council consideration at a future Committee of the Whole meeting.
Alderman Davalos, second.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Goodman and a second by Alderman Davalos. I have a roll call, please.
Alderman Berry,
Aye.
Alderman Goodman,
Aye.
Alderman Widener,
Aye.
Alderman Krischel,
Aye.
Alderman Bevere,
Aye.
Alderman Davalos,
Aye.
Alderman Ashour,
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Number 6, consideration of crystal maintenance contract extension. This is management analyst. Kristen Youngmeyer.
Thank you. So the city's cleaning contract with Crystal Maintenance Services is ending just in a couple of months here in October. Since they have been our cleaning service since the fall of 2017, and they have proven to provide adequate service. Recently, I got some estimates from local cleaning companies, and they continue to be cost competitive. And they also proven to understand our contract expectations, especially in this time when we've had a need to make sure cleaning services are being thorough. So with this agenda item, we're recommending City Council approve the contract extension with Crystal Maintenance for 2 years. In your agenda packet, there is a copy of the proposed contract extension that includes Crystal's proposal for the next 2 years. This would be an overall increase of 12% from what we're currently paying. Being in the pandemic, we are having City Hall, the police department, and the Public Works building being cleaned 5 days a week versus the 3 days a week for during our pre-pandemic schedule. Crystal will maintain the rates that we're currently getting charged. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Alderman Ashour?
No questions.
I have no questions at this time. Alderman Bevere?
No questions at this time.
Thank you. Alderman Davalos?
No questions, thank you.
Alderman Goodman?
No questions, but one comment. There is a typo on the first page in the fourth whereas. It has the wrong date. It says the contract expires the day before it begins.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay, good. Alderman Kerschel?
Nothing to add. Thank you.
Okay. Alderman Widener?
Nothing to add.
Okay. Alderman Wilson?
No comment.
Okay. Mayor Brummel?
No comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We would need a motion, please.
Alderman Davalos.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
okay.
Alderman Davalos, would you like to make the motion?
Thank you. Recommend City Council approve the contract extension with Crystal Maintenance Services for 2 years.
Second by Alderman Goodman.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Davalos and a second by Alderman Goodman. Roll call, please.
Alderman Davalos?
Aye.
Alderman Ashour?
Aye.
Alderman Kerschel?
Aye.
Alderman Widener?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Berry?
Aye.
Alderman Goodman?
Aye.
Alderman Bevere?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. On to number 7. Here we go. Consideration of BPAC attendance at the Ride Illinois Virtual Summit and becoming a Ride Illinois affiliate. Again, we'll have management analyst Kristen Youngmeyer.
Thank you again. So BPAC, the commissioners are interested in attending Ride Illinois' 2000 Bike Summit. It is now being held virtually in September. And this item was approved pre-pandemic, but obviously since conditions have changed and this event is now being held virtually, the commission wanted to bring this again to council to review. Also, in reviewing the event, I was looking through the registration and there is a membership rate and a non-membership rate, and just doing an inquiry to learn what groups need to do to obtain membership. Ride Illinois has recently change qualifications to become an affiliated organization. In the past, it's mainly been focused on bike clubs, but they are wanting to be more open to groups like BPAC to get more involved with the resources that they're offering. And so this is something that could be open to BPAC becoming an affiliate. To do so does require a donation, but there is no minimum. So if we looked at their most economic level, it's a friend level, we could make a donation. This would have the city become an affiliated organization with a group that BPAC is already in communications with, and this would actually end up decreasing the registration costs. And then looking at the future, this would also expand potential networking opportunities and resources that BPAC could receive for the next year. So in this item, there's a recommendation for council to approve BPAC attendance to Ride, Illinois, and to also consider them making this donation to become an affiliated organization. If you guys have questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Thank you. Okay, questions and comments? Alderman Ashour?
No questions.
Okay, Alderman Berry, I mean, does the BPAC have had this amount of money that they are going to spend? They had that in their budget, which they haven't spent, is that it?
That's correct. And learning the opportunity to become affiliated organization, it's actually going to be lower than what they initially proposed. It was initially proposed, registration would have cost around $300. If they can make a donation as low as $1, I'm recommending 99. That's within the lowest level. So if they did that with registration, that is around 200. So that would be lower than, again, what was initially proposed in their budget. And to date, they have not spent any pre-pandemic approved funds because all of their events have been canceled for this year.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Bevere?
No questions.
Okay, Alderman Davalos?
No questions at this time, thanks.
Thank you. Alderman Goodman?
I would defer to Alderman Widener and the rest of BPAC, although I guess I do have one small question, which is, would there be any additional benefit to BPAC if we gave $1 more and made it 100 and went up a level, or does that not give them access to any additional resources?
My understanding is it would just put the city of Warrenville at the next affiliate level, but as far as benefits, I don't think there's any significant increase or opportunities that we would get. If you guys did want to round it out to 200, that would just basically put us at a higher donor level. But I can look into that to confirm.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Alderman Goodman? Okay, thank you. Alderman Kreschel?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, Alderman Widener?
No questions.
Okay, and Alderman Wilson?
No questions.
Okay, thank you. We would just need a motion, please.
Alderman Davalos, I'd like to recommend City Council approve BPAC's attendance at the Ride, Illinois 2020 Bike Summit and for the City of Warrenville to become an affiliate of Ride, Illinois.
Second, Alderman Widener.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Davalos and a second by Alderman Widener. May we have a roll call, please?
Alderman Berry?
Aye.
Alderman Widener?
Aye.
Alderman Krischel?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Ashour?
Aye.
Alderman Goodman?
Aye.
Alderman Bevere?
Aye.
Alderman Davalos?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Finally, number 8, we have the review and to file the Public Works Department FY 2021 work plan status report. This is an information only, but I will just run through the names of the aldermen to see if they do have any comments. So first, Alderman Ashour.
No comment.
Okay, Alderman Barry, I have no comments. Alderman Bevere.
No comment.
Okay, Alderman Davalos.
No comment.
Thank you. Alderman Goodman.
I just want to thank staff for the thorough update.
Oh,
Very good. Thank you. Alderman Kreschel.
No comment, thank you.
Alderman Widener.
Nothing to add, thank you.
Alderman Wilson.
no comment.
Okay, and Mayor, I know I left you off last time. Mayor Brummel, any comments?
No comment. I just would echo Alderman Goodman. It's nice to get these regular updates and keep us apprised of what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, since that was an information only, that was great. Now we have nothing under miscellaneous. And let's see here. We need a motion and a second to adjourn.
Alderman Goodman, I move to adjourn.
Second, Alderman Wilson.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Motion by Alderman Goodman, second by Alderman Wilson. And a roll call, please.
Alderman Ashour,
Aye.
Alderman Barry,
Aye.
Alderman Bevere.
Aye.
Alderman Davalos,
Aye.
Alderman Goodman,
Aye.
Alderman Kershaw,
Aye.
Alderman Widener,
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. We are adjourned. And good night, and thank you for all attending virtually. Okay, good evening.
Thank you, Alderman Barrett.